What is going on, fellow fantasy football people? It is your boy, John, with the catch, here to bring you yet again another mock draft. I hope everyone is doing absolutely fan-freaking-tastic today. Quick shout out to my cat, who I did let up in my office while I do this recording. Sorry if you hear a cat in the background. Let me know in the comments down below if you want to see my cat featured in one of these videos. And while you're down there, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe for more future content like this, as well as mine and Steven's annual The Catch podcast, and leave some other comments down below on what you think of this draft, what you think of any of the past mock drafts we've been conducting and uploading. We have had a freaking blast this past week or so, getting a lot of great support and feedback from you guys. So we thank you all so very much. And let's get rolling as I am picking from the 7th overall selection. This is a PPR scoring format. Like I said, you guys already know this is a 8-man league. I am going to do something in terms of strategy here. I'm going to try out the 0 RB strategy today and go very heavy at the receiver position as well as the tight end position, and probably snag a quarterback relatively early. So in an 8-man league, you can definitely load up pretty early with some stud receivers. We've kind of seen your top 4 typical players off the board throughout the beginning of this mock draft. So in terms of who I'm going to be targeting here, it's definitely going to be kind of your big 3, Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams, and Stephon Diggs. Still 2 more selections until I pick, and I won't be surprised if one of these guys goes in PPR leagues. These are some of the most valuable names out there. So we will see if the rest of this draft is going RB heavy, if they are going to select a receiver, as we do see Devontae Adams off the board. So I'm going to go ahead and snag Tyreek Hill and kind of hope that Stephon Diggs drops out of here. But if he doesn't, and he does, but I think I am going to take Travis Kelce here and go ahead and shore up the tight end position, get the best tight end in the league, and with that 23 overall selection, we might be eyeing my guy, Patty Mahomes, and just do a Chiefs super stack 0 RB strategy and kind of see how this draft rolls out. But if Patty Mahomes does not fall to us, we will be targeting another receiver. So let's go ahead and see. We saw, Saquon Barkley and then Nick Chubb with picks 8 and pick 9, and then Stephon Diggs, who was my next target, with pick 11. So as we've seen, Aaron Jones picked with the 12th overall selection, followed by Najee Harris and Jonathan Taylor. So a lot of running backs here in round 2 after kind of this little run on tight end by myself and Stephon Diggs off the board, as we see Calvin Ridley now selected, and then Austin Eckler off the board. And now in the top of round 3, D-Hop off the board as well. So like I said, with that 23 overall pick, I am kind of eyeing Patty Mahomes. Just get that crazy super stack of all 3 Chiefs players. If that happens, I mean, you're looking at big money in your league every freaking week, right? But if he does get selected, I will be targeting another wide receiver. But we know that I will get the 26 overall pick as well, picking after Jonathan, who spells his name like I do. That is my full name. I know that no one cares, but that's why you see no H in my name. So shout out to my boy Jonathan, who may be very well stealing a couple players that I want as well. So we'll see what happens, as we've seen Justin Jefferson off the board and now Antonio Gibson off the board. This is, kind of a strategy that Steve and I have been talking about more and more, kind of super stacking some of these elite offenses out there. And just imagine, when these teams are going off, if you can have, the benefits from all angles, how much value it adds to your team. As we've seen A.J. Brown and now Joe Mixon off the board as well, and Chris Carson going with the 22nd overall pick. So we can see that Jonathan has gone RB heavy, so won't surprise me if he wants a QB here And it won't surprise me if he wants a receiver here. So I really want DK Metcalf. So we're going to cross our fingers that Patty Mahomes slips to us. We're going to take DK Metcalf, and he did not select DK Metcalf. He did go ahead and stack a third RB, which I think was a great decision, and he went out and got an elite, very underrated receiver in Allen Robinson. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to snag Patty Mahomes. Just look at this team. I mean, absolutely nuts already. No running backs. I mean, we know that we were going zero RB here, but other than that, what an absolutely incredible start to this team as David Montgomery is now off the board. So at this point moving forward, now is the time to start looking at the running back position, and there's still a lot of value here, right? Excuse me, I can tell you that Josh Jacobs is more than likely my top target with what we've seen him do in the past and with the potential of him still being the number one running back in that league. And, hopefully we start to see a little bit of a run on QB here as we did go out and select Patrick Mahomes in the fourth round. We see the next two elite tight ends off the board and George Kittle as well as Darren Waller. And now we're seeing a little bit more of a run on the skill position group. So we will see how this kind of unfolds, but really, unless there is someone out there who just presents extremely, undeniable talent, I don't, I don't see us drafting anyone other than a running back here. So uh, like I said, this was the zero RB strategy, but once you have those first, four selections in outside of the running back position, you do need to go ahead and start selecting running backs. This isn't a, you draft two running backs at the end of the draft type strategy. I have seen people do that. This is a let's start the beginning of the draft with zero RBs. Now, we do have the flex position open, and I do think that some people argue that within this strategy, you need to get a tight end QB and then three receivers. But I'm very happy with those two receivers, and I don't want to sweat too much at the RB position as we've seen J.K. Dobbins and Darrell Henderson off the board, as well as Keenan Allen and Kyler Murray at the QB position being the second quarterback off the board. And we're going to kind of hope that there is another run on QB here as we see Josh Allen selected after CeeDee Lamb here in the fifth round. And, we know that we've shored up the quarterback position. I could aim to get another quarterback on this team like a Lamar Jackson, which you guys have seen me do in a previous draft, and kind of get two elite guys. But I'm pretty happy with Patrick Mahomes. I do think that in the later rounds we could possibly snag a Tom Brady or Ryan Tannehill or maybe a Matthew Stafford or my guy Tua, right? So I think there's a lot of potential still left to get a second quarterback as we see Kyle Pitts and Chris Godwin off the board. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take Miles Sanders here, and we're going to hope that Josh Jacobs slides through here. We do know that Jonathan has already selected a lot of running backs, so that is one thing, and I think he got two stud receivers there, but that is one thing to keep in mind. The people drafting before you, you do need to kind of know what position groups they have filled and what players are more likely to fall to you because of who they already have selected, and all of that good stuff. So at this point, I am happy with these two running backs. They could end up being very good number one running backs this year. So I think we have a lot of value on this roster. And at this point, we do just want to go ahead and add as much value as possible. So we are going to start quite the queue here. This is an 8-man draft, and things are going to be moving very, very quickly. So let's go ahead and make sure we are monitoring that as we see both of the LA Rams receivers off the board and that of Cooper Kupp as well as Robert Woods. And now DeAndre Swift of the Detroit Lions off the board. Let me know in the comments down below where your guys' personal stock on DeAndre Swift is. If you are personally, targeting him, if you are not, if you're high on him as a player, just kind of interested to see what you guys think about that. As we see Lamar Jackson taken in the sixth round, as well as Tyler Lockett and TJ Hawkinson, a couple of the players that I did have on my draft board. So I can tell you, I would love to see a Julio Jones kind of slide to us at 55. But I would also be happy with like a Mike Davis. I got a couple names off the board, as Mike Davis being one of them. Before that, we did see Dak Prescott off the board as well. So, yeah, I would love for a Julio to kind of slide through here. We might see a little run on a tight end and QB uh, positions, which would be very beneficial to us as Deontay Johnson is off the board. So, let's see who S. Ruley has got. He has got a lot of good receivers, so it's definitely possible that he is not going to pick a receiver as Russell Wilson is taken off the board, and I think that Julio is going to fall to us here. And after that, I'm going to be either targeting Adam Thielen or Damian Harris slash Kareem Hunt. So I do like DJ Moore here. We do know he is the number one receiver on that Carolina Panthers team, even with Robbie Anderson being a very talented receiver. I'm going to go ahead and pick Julio Jones simply because I think that offense as a whole is going to perform a little bit better overall than that of the Carolina Panthers, as we see Adam Thielen as well as Justin Herbert off the board. So I am going to go ahead and go running back here. And I'm going to go with Myles Gaskin out of Kareem Hunt, Damian Harris, and Myles Gaskin being kind of the top three guys I have here. I'm going to pick just a little bit of an upside play. I think that Myles Gaskin has the potential to be a very good running back in that offense this year, as we now see Kareem Hunt taken. Let me know out of those three guys who you guys personally have the highest stock on. Is it Damian Harris, Myles Gaskin, or Kareem Hunt? I think Damian Harris is a very, very safe play overall, but let's keep moving along here. So we see the first defense off the board, kind of close to the top of the eighth round here, with the LA Rams off the board, and now T. Higgins off the board, and Washington football team's defense is off the board. DJ Moore's still kind of lurking around, as well as Damian Harris. I'd be very surprised if either of them fell to us with that 71st overall pick, but I'd also be quite happy. So let's go ahead and see who we've got left. We've still got a James Robinson, a Chase Claypool. We've got Ronald Jones II, as well as Robert Tonyan. A lot of good players left. Jerry Jeudy left. So I've got a lot of players that I would like to personally target here. As we do now see DJ Moore as well as the Pittsburgh defense off the board. So my top target would definitely be Damian Harris here. So let's just kind of sit back and see what we get. As we see an auto draft pick Justin Tucker, but that's okay. Let's see what happens. And we've got Brandon Ayuk off the board with 4 more selections until our pick. So I do still think that as we see Harrison Butker now off the board, that the running back position is our, biggest hole we need to fill here. Tampa Bay defense off the board. I am going to move my face here just so we can kind of see this queue. A lot of good players left, a lot of people that I would still love to add to this roster. If I could get 4 of these guys on this roster, I would be super stoked. As we see Odell Beckham drafted and now Logan Thomas. So Damian Harris did slide to us. I still think that's the safest pick at the running back position, so I'm going to go ahead and snag him. And then we are going to have to think about what we want to do with this next pick, as Jamar Chase as well as Noah Fant are now off the board. And I really think you kind of have your pick. I mean, these are a lot of good players, these 4 guys that I have queued. I am, going to go ahead and pick Chase Claypool. I would just like one more kind of quote unquote elite receiver on this team, with DK Metcalf, Tyreek Hill, Julio Jones, and Chase Claypool. I feel pretty confident in the receiver position, as we did see James Robinson get picked, someone who that would probably have been my next, pick, next person that I valued the most there. Uh, but the closer this season comes, I've been very, very high on James Robinson throughout these mock drafts, throughout this offseason. But I'm starting to just get, a little bit more scared as week one gets closer that maybe I'm completely wrong on that take. Maybe he is not going to see very many touches at all within that offense. So let me know in the comments down below. I've asked this a couple times what you guys think on James Robinson and if you are targeting him or not. So now my three guys we've got kind of highlighted here would be Ronald Jones II, Robert Tonyan, and Jerry Jeudy, as we now see Robbie Anderson taken in the 10th round. I think that is a great value. And Travis Etienne is still available for those of you who are higher. Well, now he's been selected, followed by Robert Tonyan. I can tell you, I really wanted to pair Robert Tonyan with Travis Kelce on this team. I almost took him over Chase Claypool just to, make sure I had the both of them, as we see Trey Sermon now selected. But that's okay. I still think we can go out and get a guy like a Mike Gesicki and add him to this roster, or even a Hunter Henry, who is a little banged up. Did and have an. I mean, it's not really. It hasn't been shown what type of injury he got the other day, but I think he'll be fine by week one, more than likely, as we see Ryan Tannehill now selected, followed by Kenny Galladay. So Tom Brady also sitting here, someone who, I kind of mentioned earlier, someone to pair with Patty Mahomes, but I do think that Ronald Jones as well as Jerry Jeudy are my top overall targets here. And looking at the quarterback position, Jalen Hurts, Matthew Stafford, and Joe Burrow, as well as Kirk Cousins, still available, and my guy Tua all the way down there at the bottom. So we know that there's a pretty good shot we can still select Tua in this draft as well. But Tom Brady is looking very, very attractive, so to speak, with this pick. So, but I do really like, kind of shoring out the skill position players here, going out and getting Ronald Jones and Jerry Jeudy with these next picks if they are available, as we see Tyler Higbee off the board, and we will see what happens here. I do think if I were to select Tom, I will not have the opportunity to go and get both Ronald Jones as well as Jerry Jeudy, but we will see what happens with this next selection. Having Patrick Mahomes on this team, we do feel pretty confident overall, especially with having him stacked with Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, as we see San Francisco's defense off the board. So I'm going to follow kind of my strategy here and take the two guys that I want the most, with Ronald Jones the second, especially still looking at those running backs, not the best overall. I will say, in terms of a zero RB approach, for me personally, from a realistic standpoint, really the only type of draft I would consider doing so would be in an 8-man league. I think we're seeing here that you can end up with a very good team and still some pretty good value at the running back position in an 8-man league, but anything higher than an 8-man league, maybe you could argue a 10-man league. It's going to start to get very thin very, very quickly, especially in 12 plus. So we will see if Jerry Jeudy falls, and Tom Brady is still sitting here, someone that I would love to have on this team, but I just don't think it's necessary. I think going out and getting another sure receiver makes the most valuable team overall. So I'm very high on Jerry Jeudy, as many of you guys know. So I'm going to go ahead and select him, and it is still likely that Tom Brady falls to us, but it is also very unlikely at the same time. So those are still my three top players: Mike Gesicki, Hunter Henry, and Tom Brady. But I do like, there's still some very good value on the board as well. So we'll go ahead and we'll mark all of those guys right there. We'll mark at Michael Carter as Tyler Bass is taken. We're seeing, a couple unlikely picks here with some teams on auto draft kind of in these later rounds with a lot of kickers and defenses going, but there are leagues out there where that happens. So we'll keep kind of moving right along. Still a lot of good players. Uh, you still got Kenyon Drake. You've got Will Fuller. You've got Antonio Brown. And I'm looking for Michael Thomas here, someone who. You've even got Mike Williams available. And that's the thing. I mean, you guys have already heard me say it. In these eight-man leagues, there's going to be a lot of value left untouched, right? As we did see Tom Brady picked with the 94th overall selection, followed by Melvin Gordon and Jalen Hurts. There's going to be a lot of good players available on the waiver wire after your draft. There's going to be a lot of good players who do not get drafted at all, and that's just how it works. There's less people drafting and less players who will be drafted. So I am very happy with how this team has turned out, even with going very RB light at the beginning of this draft. So at this point, if this mock draft has been helpful and or entertaining to you in any way, go ahead and smash that like button and subscribe for much more fantasy as well as regular NFL content. And while you're down there, leave a comment on how you think this draft is going to this point, as we do have what some would argue the best quarterback, the best receiver, and the best tight end in the entire league on this roster, as we're seeing a big run on skill position players here in the 13th overall round. So it is now my turn to draft, and there are a lot of players that I like here, but my main target is still Mike Gesicki. So I'm going to go ahead and check the defenses. There's really no one elite there. And I am going to go ahead and I am going to pick an upside player in Michael Carter. And I am going to forfeit a kicker in this draft. Please let me know in the comments down below. Like, do you guys hate seeing these mock drafts where either myself or Steven forfeit a kicker? Is that something that's, completely unrealistic to you guys in your personal mock drafts? Because we do that a lot. We load up at the skill position players and and we kind of forfeit those kickers sometimes in real life. And, as week one starts to kick off, we go ahead and drop who we think is the least valuable player on our roster and move forward into the regular season. So I am going to go ahead and grab Mike Gesicki. Would like to see a second tight end on this team. And I think this team overall filled out great. So you kind of look at some of the players that we're not going to be able to select. No Hunter Henry, no Antonio Brown, no Kenyon Drake, no Will Fuller, and no Mike Williams. Like I said, there's going to be a lot of talent left on the board when it comes to these 8-man leagues. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of shore up my defenses that I would like to see on this team, and the top two for me are going to be Miami and Indianapolis as well. And let's just go ahead and let's hop into breaking down this team. All right, got my sip of water. I'm ready to crack it down. So at the quarterback position, we went with one QB in this draft with none other than Patrick Mahomes, the best quarterback in the freaking league, baby. Followed it up by going out and getting Tyreek Hill at the receiver position, as well as DK Metcalf. Those are my top two receivers on this team. Very happy with the selection of both of them. Going to offer a ton of fantasy value at the receiver position, even if we didn't draft another receiver for the rest of this draft, but we did. We went out and we got Julio Jones, who I think in that Tennessee Titans offense is going to present a ton of value. I think he's going to have a great year, especially in PPR league. So I'm very happy with him as the third receiver on this roster, and that is followed by Chase Claypool and Jerry Jeudy. So I think at the receiver position, we are looking very, very strong. At the tight end position, we've got Travis Kelce and we've got Mike Gesicki, which is absolutely beautiful. Best tight end in the freaking league, and a tight end who has the opportunity to have over 700 receiving yards and right around 5 touchdowns this year. I am very happy with the tight end position on this group. And at the running back position, remember we went 0 RB at the beginning of this draft. We drafted 4 players before drafting a running back, and we focused on the other positions, and then we filled out with upside, not as highly ranked running backs, some handcuff situations, things like that. But we still ended up with who many believe will be the number one running back on the Philadelphia Eagles offense, as well as Josh Jacobs, who many believe will be the number one running back in that Oakland Raiders offense, even with the addition of Kenyon Drake. And outside of that, we've got Myles Gaskin, Damian Harris, Ronald Jones II, as well as Michael Carter. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 other running backs who could potentially be number one running backs in their respective offenses. So overall, I'm very happy with this roster, and I think in an 8-man league, you may want to strongly consider going 0 RB, which is something I almost never say, right? Steven and my co-host Steven and I are both very, very high on running backs overall and selecting them early, and really making them the staple of your team. But I think in an 8-man league, this is something that you guys need to hop into some of these mock drafts and kind of test out and see what type of teams you end up with. I think it's something that could certainly work in your guys' favor. So with that being said, I thank you all very much for watching and or listening. Please consider subscribing to the channel for more future content like this, as well as our annual The Catch podcast. Go ahead and smash that like button. It means the world to us. Go ahead and subscribe. That also means the world to us. And let me know in the comments down below what you guys thought of this draft overall. If there's anything I could have done better, let me know what type of specific strategies you guys want to see, as we have much more content coming out for all of you guys. We want to help you in your respective fantasy football leagues. Once again, thank you so much for watching, and remember, you saw it here on The Catch.